Hi, everybody. Welcome. So it's Monica at Hormones and Health Summit. You know that we're having the summit coming up, and I'm so excited. We started yesterday with our daily interviews. So if you're not signed up yet, I'm going to drop the link so you can actually partake in this event. It's actually going to be 11 days because we have bonus speakers and we have amazing 24 speakers by now, all talking about hormones and health. And I'm so pleased and excited because I have one of the fabulous speakers today, Dr. Emily Kibert. Welcome. Let's talk a bit about you and what you do. And
Yeah, so I'm a chiropractor since 2007, and I help women with Hashimoto's learn how to work out without the burnout. Yep. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what is Hashimoto's and how does it link to hormones?
Yeah, so Hashimoto's is an autoimmune condition where your body is attacking your own thyroid gland or the thyroid hormones circulating in the bloodstream. And there is obviously a genetic component, right? So typically women, like their mother, their sister, or an aunt will have thyroid conditions or a history of thyroid conditions or issues. And then it's the environment that affects whether that autoimmune condition is triggered. So some triggers could be how we're eating, how we're working out, which is the piece that I addressed. Oftentimes with Hashimoto's, women are either so fatigued they can't get off the couch, and so they're not working out at all, or they're very type A and they're working out 6-7 days a week. So those are opposite ends of the spectrum, and I think there's kind of a sweet spot in the middle of how we should be working out. Our muscle tissue, which is what Thyroid Strong focuses on, that's the course, focuses on the muscle tissue, and the muscle is the largest endocrine organ in the body. And when we contract the muscle, ideally under load, like a weight, it secretes proteins, myokines, which then can affect our hormones, our immune system, all the things.
Okay. Yes. So, I mean, I love what you're talking about when you talk about finding that sweet spot because it's so true. Like we either do nothing and maybe just like eat whatever and don't exercise because it's too much, or get into that type A personality when it's actually really working against us because we know, and this is what we're learning about in the summit. This is huge, that it's not just about your hormone levels that you measure or replacing the hormones. It's really about this big picture of or the whole lifestyle. And this is why I was so excited to have Dr. Emily Kibert, because she talks a lot, right, on the interview about your lifestyle, about how to step into that sweet spot. So
yeah, definitely. And I think, we can often overdo our workouts because the two biggest struggles with Hashimoto's are difficulty losing weight. So oftentimes we're like, running on the hamster wheel of doing a lot of cardio or overtraining to lose the weight. Sometimes conventional medicine tells us, oh, you want to lose weight, eat less, work out more, move more. On the other end, the other struggle is the fatigue. And so I think it's a really fine balance. I kind of call it like the Goldilocks sweet spot of working out, of, how do you work out enough to stimulate your muscle, but without overdoing it such that you push yourself into a flare up where your joints hurt, you have brain fog, you can't get out of bed for 3 days, and, working out such that you are feeling better, because we kind of all crave that quote unquote runner's high, that endorphin release. But if your workout leaves you feeling exhausted, you're kind of wondering, okay, when's that endorphin release going to happen? So
exactly. Okay, great. And I see here, thanks you guys joining. Drop comments. If you have questions, drop it in the comments. We can actually interact here and ask Dr. Emily Kibert those questions. So this is important. Tell me, what's really was coming up for me interviewing our speakers on the show is that overdoing, and that actually, running marathons and running even 5 or 10 miles, it may be actually way too much for a lot of women, especially. And it's instead of helping our hormones, you can actually disrupt them. So tell us more about like healthy exercise, because I think it extends beyond just Hashimoto's. And I know you focus on that and you really zoom in on how to help women with Hashimoto's, but it's more than just Hashimoto's. So tell us more about like the proper way of exercising actually supports our body, supports the hormonal balance.
Yeah. So I think, going back to the idea that you can be overtraining potentially or doing too much cardio, the HPA axis, which is the hypothalamic pituitary axis, which is involves the thyroid gland, involves the adrenal glands, can get taxed if we are overdoing it, if we are not allowing proper rest and recovery. And it's hard to train. Like if you're training for a marathon, it's very intensive training. It's 4 days a week. You're hitting a certain mileage. Ideally, you'd create a base beforehand. And, for women who, already have other things that are not in balance, right? Like maybe they have some insulin resistance, maybe they're going into perimenopause or menopause and their hormones are changing. Overdoing that kind of exercise can push them into, feeling worse. Maybe their joints hurt more, their hormones feel off. Maybe they're not sleeping, they're having insomnia, they're waking up multiple times a night, which is a sign that their hormones are off. And so I like to go at it, like I said, from an aspect of the muscle, like the muscle being the largest endocrine organ in the body, secreting proteins that can affect our hormone profile, can change our immune system, can change our metabolic activity. If you think about muscle, it's a very expensive tissue to feed, with protein, with resistance training. And if we don't feed it properly, it can atrophy. And so especially when we age, especially when our hormones are thrown off, perimenopause, menopause, when our hormones are changing, resistance training is so important to help us put more meat on the bones, put more muscle on the bones, and to help us feel good even through that phase of life that is a transition.
Yeah, and that's huge. I mean, instead of doing cardio, which is not building muscle and it's not feeding, I love how you put it. It's like it's not feeding your muscle tissue. And we need that muscle tissue to be strong, actually, to produce hormones and to be, right? So tell us more, like, how do you work with women who maybe have not been training and are afraid to lift weights? Because obviously we're not going to go to CrossFit and try to lift 200 pounds, right? It's not what we do. Not recommending anyway. So how do you start? Like if you are, maybe getting into menopause and you feel like you're really weak and you've been trying to run, but then, you're putting more weight on and confused, like what's the first step?
Yeah. Well, I would say, like let go of the cardio for a temporary time period. Cardio can actually break down the muscle if you're only doing cardio. And, I do encourage like hitting your 10,000 steps a day, but I encourage, starting to pick up a weight under guidance with good form, learning how to breathe down into your belly, learning how to brace so you can protect your joints and your back, and then picking up a weight. And for those of the listeners who haven't picked up a weight in a while or ever, it might be lighter, right? It might be like 10 pounds, 15 pounds. Usually I start a deadlift, like a hinge pattern with 50 pounds, which might sound like a lot, but when you're using your own strength, when you're learning how to recruit tension in the body, that weight actually goes up pretty easily. And then you're starting to increase and have that progressive overload where you're starting to pick up heavier weight. The goal is not to, necessarily get a PR, personal record, or personal best. I think the goal is to introduce some functional movements, things that make us better at life, right? Things we do in our day in life. So like a hinge, a squat, a lunge, some push movement, a pull movement.
Yeah.
Under like slow and controlled, so that when we do it in life, like we have that muscle memory, we don't default to a position where we might injure ourselves. We learn to breathe and brace. Like if my kid comes running up to me and wants to get picked up, I'm going to hinge back, breathe, embrace, and pick it up. And it's already like in my memory bank.
Yeah.
So I don't have to worry about getting injured. So I think, a program where you have access to a weight, and it doesn't have to be a kettlebell. It could be a dumbbell. I've had women use like a sandbag, and they'll like add sand to increase the weight, because
Cool.
kettlebells are an investment. They are expensive. I've had women use like tote bags full of books, just something that's accessible in their house, or even starting with body weight, like a push-up against the kitchen counter versus like a horizontal push-up. So, I think it's important for women to meet themselves where they're at, and then to learn the form, which once you learn it and you put it in your body will remember. You just kind of sometimes have to break old habits.
Awesome. Yeah, that's so important. Like we start with a good form, and it's perhaps good to hire somebody, a trainer for a few sessions to really watch you and teach you, because then your body's going to learn.
Yeah.
And also just really reconsider, like what I'm getting so much now from this summit. It's like step back, like reconsider, what are you doing? Are you just kind of chasing those, like losing weight, or are you taking methodical steps that make sense, that are actually building your muscles, building your tissues, creating strength, resilience, right? So I think that these are really important mindset switches and changes that are at the foundation of what's really happening with the hormonal health in general. So
yeah, 100%.
Totally appreciate your contribution to kind of helping people understand that. So Dr. Emily, like what how can people get in touch with you? How do you work? Tell us more about that. And
so Dr. Emily Kibert across all social channels. I respond to all my DMs, and I have a program called Thyroid Strong, which is exactly for this, is like teaching women how to work out without the burnout, with form and cueing, all the things. It's an online program. It's 6 weeks. And then there's a membership after called Stay Strong. And yeah, all of that can be found on my website, Dr. Emily
awesome.
Kibert.
We're going to tag you. And so if anybody wants to get in touch with Dr. Emily, if you actually are struggling with your thyroid and exhaustion and tiredness, and if you are interested in exploring Hashimoto's, and if that may be something that you are struggling with, get in touch with Dr. Emily. And so any last word for our viewers today that you want to leave them with?
I think working out is just one of probably 3 pillars of good health. The other one being how we eat, and then the last one being how we sleep. And so sometimes I think we go down rabbit holes of, why am I not feeling good? But I think like get the 3 pillars in check first, right? Create that basis of good health, and then start to layer on, okay, are there root causes contributing to how I'm feeling? Exposure to environmental stuff. I think especially for this summit of hormones and health is, finding a good practitioner to work with, one that feels like a team member, feels like they're a partner in your health. It's especially if people are seeking out hormone replacement therapy, it takes a very, very skilled practitioner to get that dialed in properly. Some are better at it than others. So if you feel like your doctor is not a partner in your health, or you're not feeling great on what you're on, like keep searching, like keep seeking out someone that resonates with you.
Yeah, well, stand up for yourself, and don't just assume that whoever you get in touch with actually knows exactly what they're doing, because it may not be the case. And also, start with lifestyle changes. Following, this is what we're talking on the summit. Like, what's the basis? What is the foundation of your hormonal health? And then if that doesn't work out, if there's still a big problem, you may want to inquire into hormonal replacement and, other additional solutions. But start with the baseline. And this is kind of like, I cannot stop stressing that. It's so important. So everybody, if you want to sign up, if you have not signed up for the summit, or if you know somebody who's struggling with these issues, please I put a link here so you can share that or sign up. For anybody who hasn't signed up and comments here, I'm going to send you Dr. Emily's interview so you can have it outside of just the summit and watch it whenever you want to. So let's do that. And so thanks again. And I'm like so excited. Dr. Emily's interview is going to be coming up soon, and you're going to get it in your inbox straight on, plus some extra goodies. So thank you so much, Dr. Emily, today. It was fun, and we'll talk with you soon, I hope.
Great. Thanks, Monica.
Bye.
Bye.